Hello there, Agile loaders. What we're going to do now is look at a complicated script, one that's been recorded from a SharePoint implementation, and this has been quite heavily bespoke. There are lots of these GUIDs about, and most tools don't know how to parameterize these. So what we're going to do is teach AgileLoad how to parameterize these so that we don't have to, and then for every single script that we record we just have a real easy time and apply our model to have the script parameterized for us. So I'm going to show you now how to start to build these models. This follows on from the manual approach for parameterizing scripts. I definitely recommend you watch that and read that tutorial. And there's also a written tutorial in the Learning Center that complements this video. What we're looking at is a request that's going to a SharePoint implementation, and you can see there are some GUIDs here that need to be parameterized. In the last video I showed you how to parameterize something like this. The next step is to reiterate what we did in the last video, and we're going to try and find the value in the HTTP responses. So we click OK here, and we can see that AgileLoad has found this value in some of the responses, importantly previous to this request here. So we're on identifier 102, and it's saying the response was found in identifier 89. So that's important that it came from the server originally, and therefore, of course, this value needs to be lower than this value. So let's double click on one of these. Just hide this for the moment. I could extract it here. Let's just click through, see what else we have. Double click on it. This looks like a much easier extract to do. So we're going to extract it from here. Like in the previous video, we're going to right click and choose extract value, and it's generated on the fly what it thinks should be the left and right delimiters. Click on preview here, and it's no good. It's coming back with some kind of value. In fact, if we look, let's see if we can scroll up here. Let's just click OK. You can see it's come back with, it's looking for UID, and in fact there's a UID up there, so it's coming back with a project UID. So that's no good to us. Just click this thing again, you see the UID, project UID. What we need to do is actually expand this out, and we're going to say, actually Mr. AgileLoad, we want the session UID, and we know it finishes with a curly bracket here. There we go, that's our value that we want to extract, right? So in the last video I put in a variable name and actually create the lines in the script by clicking apply. But I'm not going to do this now. I'm going to leave this up and go back to where I was originally in my script, in the session UID. And what I want to do is set up a rule so that this part of the script is parameterized for me. So I'm going to do that by configuring the model. I'm going to create a new one for the purposes of today. Let's just call it SharePoint new, for example. And we're going to click new rule to create a new rule, and I'll call the rule session UID. And by default, AgileLoad saying, okay, do you want to change a form parameter, a form value? And in this case we don't. I'm just going to cancel out this to show you what a form parameter is. I think we should have it. Yeah, here we go. Here's one, set form value. So there are things like view state is an example, and in fact it's very simple to do that. If I just open this up again. Oh, I didn't save this. I'll just create this again. SP new. Create my new rule again. Session UID. We would just put session UID there if it was a form value. In this case it's not. It's a lot more complicated. We have to actually parse a value in the script. So I'm going to tell it actually there's a left. I'm just going to put something in there because I want to scroll down so you can see this. In the left parameter, I want to have session UID because I want to parameterize everything in the curly brackets, actually. Session UID curly brackets to curly brackets / session UID. So I want this nasty string here to be parameterized. So my left parameter is the session UID tag with the curly bracket, and then the right delimiter is just the curly bracket. So this is telling AgileLoad this is what I want to replace in the script. So this is searching script. Searching data is where does it get the value from? In which response does it get it from? By default, these are all selected, and in fact, in this case, it will work. We can AgileLoad will try it. First of all, it'll look in HTTP headers and so on, URLs and form values, and if it fails, it'll try and generate a substring on the fly to retrieve the value. A little bit like what happened here, where it came up with UID. Personally, I don't like to do that. I prefer to create my own. It seems more robust, and if the application changes, I think you'll find it deals with more problems this way. So I'm going to create a new rule. I just click on the ellipses here, and the string to extract is in fact exactly this string here. In this case, we're lucky because they're identical, these strings in the script, as they are in the response. So we've got our left and right parameters. Just click OK, and then we're going to replace by, we want a script variable. We'll call it session UID. We've got this selected, so if the value changes during the transaction, then we'll have a second variable. It's sometimes useful to keep those two variables. You could have the same variable and have the value overwritten, but let's just leave this as is. If this was not a server created value, i.e. if it wasn't a response, it might be something like an expression. It might be something like a timestamp, in which case we could do something like this. And that would have AgileLoad put in the current UTC timecode as a parameter, and you'd need to have all this turned off in the searching data, have that unselected. But we're not doing that. In this case, it will not work. We want it to use a variable. So I'm going to click OK, and what we're going to do is try and apply this model. And it's worked. Let's see what it's done. Scroll down a little bit. And you can see, in fact, there were two different instances of the value. So it's declared the variable that we want. Let's do a find here. Find the next value. And it's doing a substring to extract the value here. Now you'll see this request has got a project UID static in it, so there's some more work to do in this script, and that's what the model's for. You build the model, so eventually the script is parameterized completely. But this is where it's pulling out the session UID, and then in a subsequent post further down, here we go. This is the value. It's now made dynamic. It's got a script value, and just for information purposes, AgileLoad has put it in as a comment at the top here, so that you know what the original value was. So that's it. That's how we build a model. Of course, if you play this back, it still won't work because the project UID is done, and in fact, there are a huge in this script. It was a nightmare. There are a huge amount of rules that need to be set up. So just to show you exactly the complexity of the script, what I'm going to do is regenerate the script. This is useful because it brings it back to a non-parameterized state as it was when it was recorded, so a raw state. And what I'm going to do is just apply this particular model. This is, let me show you this model. Look at this. It took a little while to set it up, but the great thing is once you've set this up, all further records are dealt with, so you don't have to go through the script and deal with these manually. So it saves hours, if not days, if not weeks off a project by setting this up. It's definitely worth doing. So let's apply the model, and it's going through all of these parameterization rules. It takes a little while, but it's quite a heck of a lot of work. And then let's see what it's done. So all these values are parameterized, and then if we scroll through the script, you'll see, in fact, almost everything is parameterized. I think everything is parameterized, actually, in this case, from when we did this little piece of work. Here's some of the extractions. You can see the green text where the variable is replaced as static values. View states are easy to do, and most tools should be able to handle view states on the fly. But what they can't do generally is this kind of stuff, like project UID and session UID. These are bespoke parameters that would have been set up by the developer that was configured. Well, in fact, setting up this, developing this SharePoint application. It's very common for a SharePoint application to be like this, and that's why models are so important, to save you time and effort. So don't forget to check for other things such as user IDs, GUIDs, and other GUIDs relating to the data. And the best way to do that is to record a few different scripts, logging in as different users, and accessing different bits of data, and then you can compare them. I sometimes use a little tool called ExamDiff Pro by, I believe it's PrestoSoft. You can download a trial for free. I don't think it's very expensive anyway, and that's really useful for highlighting differences between scripts. So I'm going to leave you there. Thank you for watching, and good luck with your complicated scripts. If you can do this, you're really kind of in black belt territory